Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Facebook Live from the NBA Finals, where you, the fans, get to ask the questions of your favorite players, and they provide the answers. My special guest, one of the greatest shooters in the history of the game, Ray Allen. Ray, thanks for joining us. Give you a little background on what we got going here. We have the ability to reach up to 23 million people live via the internet and Facebook. A little interactive map back here that shows you the likes on Facebook via states. If it's a Heat state, it's red. If it's a Spurs fan, it's silver. So
it's changing.
It is, and I'm sure you want it to change even more as we go forward. Let's get right down to it. David from Facebook in Florida wants to know, what's the mindset of you and the rest of your team as you brush that loss away in Game 3?
Well, David, it's, you had a day to think about it, actually a night and a morning, watch a little film, and really you see all the mistakes you make, and it's a flip-flop series. When you lose, you just got to grind it out and try and figure out a way to get back on the horse and be better for the next game.
Question from Instagram. When the time comes for you to retire, can you see yourself becoming a coach?
I don't know. When I retire, I think it's been 18 years of basketball, and then, the 3 years in college and high school, obviously. It's been a long time. So it's important for me to take the time and, let my next venture happen as best as it can. And most importantly, I have kids too, so I'd like to see what direction they'll be going in by that time.
Hector from Facebook says, Ray, what's your motivation to be one of the best three-point shooters in the NBA? And who was your role model? Is he or she the reason you decided to play basketball?
Well, Hector, my motivation starting off as a kid, I just loved the game. I just loved playing it. I loved to compete, and I played every sport growing up. Basketball, I just grew taller, and, I just loved putting the ball in the hoop at the time. And I never set out to be a great three-point shooter. Just as I got drafted onto the Milwaukee Bucks at that time, I was a floor spacer and I was a slasher, and then just over time just started developing ways to shoot, because that's what I did every day, is just work on my shot. And eventually I'm here now 18 years later, having had great success shooting the ball.
Another question from Facebook for you. What's one of your best moments of your career in your memory?
I've had some great moments in my career, and I think about not just the moments on the floor. I just think about the teammates that I played with, the places I've been able to travel. Basketball's done a lot for me, and I always tell people, you see the games, but you don't see the hard work that guys put into it, that I put into it, and that's when you see the fun we're having, that's probably 15 to 20% of it, but the other 80% is the actual hard work that you put into it so you can be good.
Halbert on Instagram wants to know, how do you keep calm during a really fast-paced or close game?
That's a good question, because there's so much going on in any particular situation. So the most important thing to stay calm is to focus on your tasks, pay attention to the game plan, pay attention in the huddles, know who you're guarding, what their tendencies are. If you score a bucket, get back on defense. No need to hoot and holler. You win, you celebrate when you win a championship. And more importantly, when you are on defense, you got to keep your body and your mind moving at all times.
Tiffany from LA on Facebook wants to know, how has your life changed as a result of your starring role in He Got Game, and how often are you called Jesus Shuttlesworth?
Well, Tiffany, my life hasn't changed much, although there are some people who are movie fans and there are some people that are basketball fans, and those worlds collide, and they've collided more in the last couple of years. So a lot of people do recognize me just from being in the movie. I've had a great career, and early in my career nobody knew me as a basketball player. They just always knew me as an actor, and I'm glad that that's somewhat changed over the years.
That in your back pocket as something in your future, possibly?
What's that?
Possibly a little acting after basketball?
Oh, well, I mean, there's always, I look forward to whatever may come after basketball, so that's definitely an avenue that I'll still venture into when I finish playing.
Question from Hong Kong on Facebook. Ray, if you weren't a professional basketball player, what would you have wanted to do in life?
Well, I grew up in the military, and my dad was in the Air Force, and I always had visions of being a fighter pilot, flying F-16s, now F-22s. I always thought that that's something I would do if I didn't play basketball.
Instagram question, who's the funniest person on the Heat?
The funniest person on the Heat, We have a few characters. Probably have to be James Jones. He's a guy when you walk into the locker room, no matter where you are in the locker room, you know when he walked in. There's always something. He has something going on, and he does a great imitation of our strength coach. You don't know our strength coach, but he's got a pretty funny voice, and James always imitates him. So, always keeps the locker room pretty lively and entertaining.
Okay, the shoe game on deck. Eric from Virginia on Facebook wants to know, what's your favorite Jordan sneaker of all time?
Eric, my favorite Jordan sneaker is the Fire Reds 4s of all time, I have to say. And I think each one of us has our own favorite based on how we grew up, what they meant to us at that time as we were young kids. So, Michael Beasley, for example, he likes like the 16s or the 17s because he was a kid when those came out. That's what he was wearing. So I guess it depends on, how old you are.
Jamie on Instagram wants to know, how do you control your emotions after a loss?
Well, Jamie, it's the one thing you have to remember about sports is that you can't win every game. You're not going to, one game you'll score 40, right. One game you score 4. There's averages. And so when you lose, it's important that you kind of circle the wagons and you come to the team more than you go away from it, because typically people want to point the finger and say, oh, this person didn't do this, or this person do that. But, the really good teams, the championship teams, just figure out a way that they can be better, and then figure out a way you can help your teammates be better. And that's, how you control your emotions. You don't get too overwhelmed. You just wait for the next situation to be better in.
What do you feel went wrong for you guys in Game 3, and what sort of mindset do you have going into Game 4?
Well, we did have a great start. San Antonio attacked us the whole game. Early they attacked us. They got into the paint often, and we were always catching them. We were reacting to everything we were doing as opposed to being proactive.
You exerted a lot of energy trying to catch up?
Yeah, we got it within 7, and so you figure by the time we go on a little run, and then by the time we get to 7, right. They get their guns back, and they take the lead back up, and we just can't overcome.
Colton on Instagram wants to know, what are your best tips to improve as a basketball player?
Well, Colton, one of the things that I tell kids all the time, anybody for that matter, is to practice whatever game situation you can. Put yourself in the game situation and to practice that situation over and over again. One of the biggest misconceptions about shooting is that, you shoot 1,000 shots a day, then you'll be a great shooter. It's not the 1,000 shots, the quantity of shots, it's really the quality of shots. So if you could take, 50 of the hardest shots that you'll ever have to take, shooting over a 7-footer, or shooting when the buzzer's down, or shooting with the best defender in the league on you, shoot that shot 100 times, then you're putting in work.
Well, we really appreciate the time with you today, as always. And if you want, just look into the camera and just tell your fans a nice hearty thank you.
Thank you, everybody. We look forward to seeing you guys. You guys watch this play tomorrow in Game 4.
Ray's been our guest, and make sure you follow us throughout the NBA Finals on Facebook Live, as we'll have more of these one-on-one chats just for you, and you can submit your questions and be a part of the show.